This is the Cardiff Business School podcast, where we focus on the power of public value in everything that we do. I'm Peter Wells. I'm Pro-Dean of Public Value in Cardiff Business School, also host of the Public Value series. Today, we're speaking with Dr Maryam Lotfi. Maryam is a senior lecturer in sustainable supply chain management with a particular focus on the many aspects of modern slavery that we see today. So that includes child labour, slave labour, underpaid and under-supported individuals throughout the world, but particularly in those parts of the supply chain that we tend to ignore, in distant countries, in distant places, hidden away from public gaze, but who nonetheless contribute to the many products and services that we consume in our daily lives. Maryam, welcome.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction, and I am glad to be here today.
Yes, I see that you're actually really an engineer.
Yes, I cannot say really now, but I think I was. My backgrounds are in engineering.
Your backgrounds, plural. It's interesting. You studied in Iran initially.
Yes.
And was it mechanical engineering you did first?
Yes, my bachelor degree is in mechanical engineering, and then my master degree is in industrial engineering. Basically, culturally, anyone who is a good student in Iran usually must do mechanical engineering or electric engineering. I selected mechanical engineering, but I think everything from the start was too tough. So gradually, I shift my way towards management.
So do you find that grounding in engineering has been helpful in your journey into management?
Yes, exactly. There is a way that I go back. I would come in the same path because it really helped me. I worked as an engineer in factories, for instance, so I had that engagement. I worked as supply expert before starting my PhD. So it really helped me. And also when designing research questions, it helped me and research designs because I designed it in both qualitative, quantitative approach in many times. And it is easy for me to work with different people with different expertise.
Yes, I guess you can speak their language, as we say,
Yes.
which must always help, especially given the nature of your research. There's that step from being the person that does mechanical engineering, then industrial engineering, then management, and then supply chain work in companies. And then you say, then I started my PhD. Yes. So that's not such a straightforward step.
Yes. To be honest, working as an engineer, it's after a while, it becomes like a routine. And I didn't like it. I was understanding that I want something which is more alive. Therefore, I started to apply. I got a scholarship. I came to the UK with a scholarship from Cass Business School. The current name is Bayes Business School. And I started my journey specifically in the supply chain context. But the journey for sustainability started after I got my lecturership in Cardiff in 2020.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So before
that,
I was more in like leanness, agility, resilience, risk management. All of them are helping me, specifically the risk management approach. But the main journey, the point that I said I want to focus on people in the context of supply chain and businesses started at the time when I got my lecturership at 2020.
Wow, then you've made a lot of progress in a short time. So clearly this is something that you feel very passionately about. What then sort of made you step into this area?
To be honest, whatever I did research or had papers or have done work in the context of supply chain, I always felt that our focus as experts are always on the product itself, the process, and also like reliability, quality, all these issues. We rarely talk about who is producing this product and in which condition. So I always felt that this social element, people, are missed in the operations management and supply chain context. Gradually, I learned that I can call it social sustainability. And if you look into the sustainability context, again, this is something that we discuss less in comparison to environmental sustainability.
Yes.
So I said, okay, this is missed. I want to target. And it is really interesting for me because it's about people and it's also the essence of public value, right?
Of course. Yes, I can see the contribution to public value is obviously immense. But there seems to be this interesting sort of coming together in a sense of where the school was going
Yeah.
and where you personally were going. And so when you arrived at the business school, had you understood that we had this public value mission, or was this something that you took on board?
To be honest, when I was preparing myself for the first interview, and I joined Cardiff actually in 2018 as the postdoctoral research associate in a project. So as any other one that is going to have an interview, I prepared myself, I checked the website. So for me, it was more a strategy, but now I am leaving that strategy. So it's become different after years.
So you've got that research focus. Does it also therefore carry over onto your teaching? Does that make a difference now in your teaching content?
Yeah, you might be aware that I think 3 years ago, I suggested the school and the section to design and develop a new module, which the name is Supply Chain Social Sustainability. Because what I was feeling was that we are not teaching these things to our students, specifically on the sustainability program. And as a public value business school, I think it was urgent. I mean, it is a necessity that our students, as the future leader in the fields, are aware of the social risks, how they can manage it, how they can create impact while they are part of the supply chain. So we designed, and the school supported me. We have this module now. It's 3 years that I'm teaching it, and it is developing. And it is also listed as one of our public value teaching modules. Specifically, I bring lots of my research into it. And the case that we have was about child labor in India. And the reason is that I got some bit of funding from Global Wales. I traveled to India to do some research on modern slavery, but the path took me towards more child labor and child slavery. And it is interesting, Peter, when I was there, I went to visit rehabilitation center. Before that, I didn't know that these centers exist. So seeing things is very different from reading things. And I had engagement session with those kids, which really touched my heart, because they are kids like any other kid. They have dreams. They ask me questions about how they can get a scholarship, how they can be educated and go abroad, for instance. And they have their own dreams. So they are rescued from this slavery situation. But unfortunately, in many cases, they are not even back to the families because of poverty or lack of awareness or any other issues. They are still at risks. So they are kept in these rehabilitation centers up to 18, but then they are the rehabilitation centers are teaching them different skills, are teaching them they can go to school, they have education. So by the time they are 18, hopefully they can go back to the society with a decent work condition for any job that they are prepared to. So we have this as a case study of the role of the NGOs and how they can contribute to the child slavery, let's say, risk prevention.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So you see it very much as making a difference on the ground, really.
Yes.
It's not purely an academic exercise for you.
No, because there are few aspects. One is that we called it supply chain. And when we say chain, it is from points of production, right, to the points of consumption, which is here, which are parent firms and which are us in the West and in the UK. But usually we just focus in the business school and in the supply chain context on the parent firms and on the tier that is closer to us, first tier supplier. Right? We almost, it's very difficult, I should say, doing research in the supply chain, but we rarely talk, and also we don't have enough visibility and control over other tiers. So for me, although it is difficult, but it is interesting, and I think it is the right thing to put the focus from those workers at the points of production and all the way to the parent firm or to the consumers in the West and in the UK.
Yeah, it's an interesting area because there's been a lot of legislation, hasn't there, recently?
Yes.
I mean, Germany passed a law very recently, essentially seeking to enforce diligence on these first-tier companies to make them look into the entire supply chain. Do you feel that the tide is moving in your direction, shall we say, that the change is happening, or is this making a difference to you?
Tough question, a bit political.
Yeah,
but
of course. I think this is the thing. Public value takes us into these debates. And sometimes
exactly.
that is political, of course.
To be honest, in the UK, we have also Modern Slavery Act from 2015 that is asking the companies to publish a yearly statement of modern slavery on their website, but also on the directory of the government, and report somehow their actions and their incidences. And there are different elements the companies need to report. So now it is 9 years or 8 years, let's say, that we have this kind of reporting in the UK as well. But, and in many other countries, as you said, but the point is that the statistics of modern slavery is going up. It is not going down. Probably we are now more aware, but another reason can be because of COVID, different wars, all these things are impacting this scenario. But it is also showing us that we were not that much successful in, having less modern slavery issues and social risks in the supply chains. So it is good that governments take actions, and unfortunately in many countries, let's say points of production, West, UK, US, Australia, Canada, we are going towards legislation. But in many points of countries of points of production, in lower tier suppliers and their countries, we don't have this kind of legislation. Mm-hmm. And also the UK Act and the Europe, for instance, recent movement, they are asking the parent firms and their responsibility in the supply chain. So if something happens somewhere, if it is in India or Africa, still the parent firm has responsibility. So. But how much this is operationalized in the real world, I still doubt it.
Yes, that's of course the key. And it brings me on to this question of how you do your work. I mean, one of the things that really strikes me now about the activities you get involved in is you're really very intrepid. You get out there into some very kind of murky corners. In fact, I think, you're putting yourself out there to find this information. And I wonder how you feel about that. I mean, many academics are quietly sitting at their desks and theorizing.
No, I think I cannot do that. I don't think that we can sit in our offices and do research and talk about modern slavery or child labor. That doesn't work because these are people, right? If you want to know what conditions they are, you must go there. You must see them. You must talk to them. You must see what are the challenges. And I should admit it's not easy. Funding is difficult because in many times they would say this is not UK or Wales focused, for instance, while it is. I mean, this is not a no-chain supply chain. It is a supply chain, and we are part of that. We're
part of it. Yeah.
So funding is an issue. Security and these issues also exist in some of the countries that I travel, but I try to always have trusted partners. Mm-hmm. Also, it will be difficult for those workers or female workers or kids to talk to me directly, right? I am an outsider. Yeah. But if you work with NGOs and trusted academic partners, university partners, that they can facilitate these, and it really helped. It helped me in India. And for the Public Value Project, that this month I'm going to Bangladesh.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
And I will go in November to South Africa because it is a long time I'm working with University of Johannesburg. But it is interesting for me, and I think it is the right thing to do. But I am getting used to the place, so I know which, pre-settings I should have. I try to be cautious enough. It is resource consuming, it is time consuming, but that data and that information, I think, will be very enlightening. So I don't think it is enough that we just focus on the reports of the companies and we just talk to the CEOs. We cannot solve the issue of modern slavery.
Yes, and in some ways, it's such an enormous challenge.
Yes.
Don't you ever feel it's too much?
It is. I always, in my talks, I always said it is a really wicked problem, right? And collaboration is a key for sure. For instance, through the research group that we set up.
I was going to ask you precisely that question.
Should I give you the opportunity?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay.
So what is the benefit of this group? How does it help in this way?
I think that was a really good initiative. In July, we will be 1 year.
Okay.
And the idea came from myself and Dr. Anna Skill, the co-founder and co-director of the research group from Spark. So the group is a collaboration between Spark and Cardiff Business School. And my focus was on supply chain context. Anna's focus was mostly on survivors, victims, people at the risks.
Right. So when you say survivors
of modern slavery or child slavery or child labor. So she has more this social-oriented focus. And we talked and we would say, okay, we can put these two together and have the first research group that clearly is focusing on modern slavery and social risks. It can be about female workers, child labor, DEI, anything that is somehow related, and we call it social risks for the supply chain, but also keep the focus at the same time on people. They can be victims, they can be people at risks, or they can be survivors.
Interesting, because there's a lot going on even in the UK, isn't there? You read stories in the press. And,
yes, exactly.
Of people that are incarcerated for years, working in bizarre conditions and at great personal risk. So how big is this group now? How big is this research group?
So we set the research group with some main members, but then we have associate and affiliate members that are from other universities in the UK and also globally. So we have members from Australia, we have members from India, South Africa. So I really like it because it helps us when we want to develop projects and keep this supply chain view. And then another important aspect I always say, this is very multidisciplinary, right? So we have like legal professors, social science professors, data scientists, and also we have industrial and non-academic partners because the research should be a collaboration. So we have people from Welsh government is supporting the research group. We have different NGOs like Unseen and many others, and also industries. So when we have our annual event next month in July, we have a panel from government, from NGOs and industries. I think this is the way that they can tell us what is needed to be researched,
of course,
right?
But also it's a testimony really to what you've managed to orchestrate here, which is extremely impressive in a short amount of time. But it does bring me on to the question of policy and government. And so they're beginning to come to the table with the work that you're doing and so on and so forth. But how far do you think you can go with this in terms of going to talk to policymakers, changing attitudes, maybe changing enforcement, changing the way we understand what's going on?
Yeah. In this scenario, I can say Welsh government also has a group for modern slavery in a broader term, and they have 4 main themes: prevention, training, and another one is supply chain and international, which I am a member of. Anna is a member of another working group. So they have these initiatives as well. So we work somehow in parallel, and we really support each other. And that's the way that we had the anti-slavery conference last year in Cardiff Business School as a partnership between us and Welsh government. So they have their own initiatives as well, but the two groups are working really in support of each other. In terms of policy, I should say we have this setting of in the UK legislation, and we have it in Wales as well. And I hope things changed, but at the moment, as you said, also there is, for instance, not a penalty or something for companies that they don't issue their statement or take action. If you publish your statement and say, I had these incidences and I am aware, but we are taking actions without measures and things, still you can carry on. So a lot can be done, but I think it's going a bit slow.
It is ever thus. Maryam, thank you very much. You did bring something to show us. Yeah. Would you like to end with that?
Thank you very much. This is I will put it here. It's from the NGO in Delhi that they work on child labor, and the founder won the Nobel Prize actually for his movement for combating child labor. And basically it is saying that any child has to be free. And one thing I saw there is that everything is very local. So really the NGOs and the people and the activists are pushing things. Okay. So I think we need to remember that this is a chain, and all of us at any stage, we have a responsibility, and they are not alone in their own island. Yeah, it's about the child labor NGO that I visited in Delhi.
Thank you very much, Maryam. It's been fascinating. Today, in the Power of Public Value podcast, we've been talking to Dr Maryam Lotfi about her work in dealing with the many, many ramifications and problems connected to modern slavery, and just how dynamic and important an area this is, and one which we hope that she will continue to work on in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me today.
Thank you for listening. This has been the Power of Public Value podcast from Cardiff Business School with me, Peter Wells. Thank you very much.